you recall, and I've lost all my stuff up here. Back up, previous. Okay, there we are. Tabernacle. This is a portable, movable building. It's basically made out of animal hides for coverings. It has pillars. It has certain things in it, and it is surrounded. If you look in the upper or the back of the building where you see the covering still across it, that would have been the Holy of Holies where they keep the Ark of the Covenant. You have other things in this building. If you look back where I was talking, you have the Holy of Holies, you have the veil blocking it off, you have the holy place, you have the courtyard, and then you have where the sacrifices are made, and this is all enclosed in a fence. When they moved this to Shiloh, it is speculated that it was a more permanent structure. Now, it was still the tent, but they put other adjoining structures around it, and this would have been the living quarters for the priest. This is all speculation. I cannot find fact for this. This is what the commentaries have come across, because you talk about Eli living at the temple. You talk about Samuel, when he was first brought there, living at the temple in an adjacent room close to the ark. Now, whether or not Samuel was sleeping in this area right in front of the curtain, I don't know, or if he was outside. But we know that Eli was in an adjacent room. So this suggests there's doors, there's divisions, and there's other dwelling places around the tabernacle when it is in Shiloh. So sometimes it is referred to as a temple, but it was not the temple we know of Solomon. This is still the tabernacle. Okay, back to where we were here. If you go to the picture of it, when Elkanah and Hannah come there, you have Eli sitting at the post at the entrance. Now, again, it is not specific. Is that at the gate on the outside where he's sitting at the post? Or is it up there at the temple at the door? Unknown. He's sitting somewhere, and Hannah is out there, and he can see her. She's been distressed. She has been crying. She is praying, and her lips are moving. And Eli asks her, "How long are you going to remain drunk, woman?" Says, "This is the place of God. You shouldn't be drunk here." And at that point, you have several of the writings say that she responded, "Put not thy handmaiden before the faces of the daughters of Belial." What's this? What do you mean, don't put your handmaiden at the face of Belial? Okay, the name Belial appears many times. Some writings depict Belial as the last fallen angel from heaven. When the rebellion took place, they were cast out of heaven. Some claim that Belial is the last one. Others show Belial as a demon, a follower of Satan. In 2 Corinthians 6:15, let's turn there if you can. Whoever gets it, please read it. 2 Corinthians 6:15. I'm a patient man. Someone that gets that, please read it. Okay, so what harmony is there between Christ and Belial? So what harmony is there between Christ and the devil? So he's referred to as the devil. He's referred to as the first one or the last one falling out of heaven. And that is also a name used for lawlessness and wickedness. So in most contexts, it is used as a reference to behavior. But in other references, it refers to the devil himself or to fallen demons. So anyhow, she's saying, don't put me in the face of Belial. I am not one of these evil people. And she explains to him that she has been greatly distressed and she was praying to God to grant her the ability to have a child. And when Eli sees that she is truly not drunk, he says, go in peace and may God grant you what you wish. So, Hannah and her husband leave, and that takes us to verses 19 and 20. So in the course of time, Hannah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, saying, because I ask of him of the Lord. And when her husband Elkanah went up with all of his family to offer annual sacrifices, okay, I don't know if you can see on a map here, but let's get it back. I have some little red arrows. And if you go down to just above the Sea of Galilee, you see a little orange stripe. That's pointing at the city of Ramah. And if you go up a little bit farther, there's an arrow pointing down. That is Shiloh. That is basically 15 miles. So 3 times a year, they're making this migration 15 miles up there so he can offer sacrifices. Now, he's heading back up there. And when her husband Elkanah went up with all of his family to offer annual sacrifice to the Lord and to fulfill his vow. Okay, that vow is never discussed. Speculation is that he is fulfilling a vow that he made in accordance with Hannah's request. Whatever the vow was, we are assuming it was still tied to Hannah's request for a child. So he's going up to fulfill that vow. Hannah did not go. She said to her husband, after the boy is weaned, I will take him and present him before the Lord, and he will live there always. That is quite a vow. How many of you could give up a child that you've raised? I don't know that it would be something that we could do. But consider, back then, a vow was a very serious thing. Far more than today. I mean, today it's supposed to be just as serious as it was back then. But back in those ancient times, you would uphold a vow even to the point of being killed, to the point of death. You gave your word, that's what it was. Hasn't been that far back for us that we can remember when a man said he would do something, he would do it. A handshake was as good as gold. In today's society, especially to look at governments, a lie or a vow or a promise is a means to an end. Doesn't matter if you ever keep it or not. You got what you wanted. And that's all that matters to most people today. But back then, it was a deadly serious thing. In fact, if you made a vow, or someone in your immediate family or a king made a vow, and you didn't hear about it, you were still obligated to it. And if we go on to 2 Samuel, way up there where Jonathan has caused a victory over the Philistines, Saul, his father, had said, no one will touch food before we have routed out the Philistines. Well, Jonathan was hungry, stuck his spear in the end of some honey, ate it, and all of a sudden he's obligated under this vow because it was a vow that anybody that touched food would die. So we're going to get into that later on in the chapter, but it was a serious event. You make a vow, you keep it. After she says, and he will live there always, Elkanah said, do what seems best to you. Your wife has just said she's going to give away your son, and the husband says, do what seems best to you. Seems kind of hard. Well, again, vows are serious things. He knew what her vow was. He knew that she loved the child, but she made a promise. And he is not going to interfere with this. He's made his own vows in conjunction with hers, and he is not going to tempt her to break her word against the Lord. He says, do whatever seems best to you. Her husband Elkanah then told her, stay here until you've weaned him. Only may the Lord make good his word. What's that mean? Okay, again, speculation on it. But when he says, may the Lord make good his word, he is talking, may the Lord keep him, bless him as he grows, and have him serve and be an asset to Israel. May the Lord keep good his word, that he would take someone that is in his service and make of him the best that he can make. So that's what he's asking. Okay, this comes to a question. She's got Samuel until he is weaned. How old is that? 3 years? In biblical times, there were 3 weanings. Let's get back here and see if I can find them. The end of nursing a child, okay, Jewish tradition, that's around 3 years old, like Bill said. The second weaning that is a possibility is when he's weaned from a caretaker. And the third weaning would then be when he's weaned from a mother's household. That would be around 11 or 12. You have a little bit of controversy as to how old he would have been. Some are saying, well, surely she wouldn't have given a 3-year-old to Eli to raise. Surely he was older than that, but that's not what the Bible is saying. And there are some things to look up here. I'm saying that Samuel was most likely 3 years old, but if you turn to 2 Chronicles 31, verses 14, skip 15 because it's a bunch of names, go to 16. It says, Kor of Imnah, the Levite, keeper of the east gate, was in charge of the freewill offerings given to God. And he was also in charge of distributing the contributions made to the Lord and also the consecrated gifts. In addition, this is verse 16, they distributed to the males 3 years old, whose name were in the genealogical records, and all others that were included in the records, all who had entered the temple of the Lord to perform their daily duties. So it is mentioned specifically 3 years of age and older. So this is presumptive proof that before the age of the child, before that age, before the age of 3, he was wholly dependent on his mother for nourishment. After that, he was weaned, and at that point, I believe that is when that he was taken up to Eli. Unknown. I don't know. But he was obviously, I hate to say kids grow up quicker than because we're still talking a 3-year-old, but when you consider the lifespan and when people actually had kids, Saul had Jonathan when he was 15. Jonathan led his first battle and won victory when he was 15. People were doing things much younger than, but again, we're talking a 3-year-old. We all imagine our own 3-year-old being left, and evidently it was something that they had for him to do in the temple, in the service. Again, this is speculation. I'm saying that he was 3 years old. Another thing that would give credence to that is in verse 24 to 28, when it's talking of Hannah. She took her boy with her, young as he was. To me, that indicates he's mighty young, along with a 3-year-old bull and an ephah of flour. Okay. That is correct. Verse 24, after he was weaned, she took the boy with her, young as he was, along with a 3-year-old bull, an ephah of flour, and a skin of wine. A skin of wine. There we have a skin of wine. What they did is they took a goat, they opened it up along the belly, and they took it apart without cutting the goat up into all kinds of pieces. Then they took the leg bones out, tied those off, they sewed it up along the belly, and they tied it off at the neck. And that is what their containers were for wine. They didn't have glass jugs. They did have your pots, but extremely heavy. If you're transporting something, this is the way to do it. So that's what a skin looked like. Why a 3-year-old bull? We have, again, let me pull this up. If we go to Genesis 15:9. This is where Abram is asking for a sign of God that he will fulfill his promise to him. And it says, and the Lord said to him, referring to Abram, bring me a heifer, a goat, and a ram, each 3 years old. Since that was directed by God at one time, I believe that is why that they continued on with that tradition, and when they brought a bull or a ram, it was 3 years old. It says that she brought an ephah of flour. What is an ephah of flour? Well, turns out that is about, now this is not a way to do it. In my opinion, you would think you would have a measuring cup, but they have 7.5 gallons of flour. And she brought a skin of wine. And again, that would be what the skin of wine looked like. And this was most likely a consecration offering for Samuel when she presented him to Eli. It says, when the bull had been sacrificed, they brought the boy to Eli, and she said to him, pardon me, my lord. As surely as you live, I am the woman who stood here beside you praying to the Lord. I prayed for this child, and the Lord has granted me what I ask of him. So now I give him to the Lord for his whole life. Okay, there's actually something to that. Levites were considered to be the Lord's property, male Levites, from the age of 25 to 50. You are the Lord's property. You do his work. That's the end of the story. She's giving Samuel to God for his entire life. No limitations. Some versions say, I am lending him back to the Lord. Others say, I am giving him to the Lord. Regardless, he was the Lord's from 3 years old till he died. It could be. Who knows? Then we start chapter 2. Hannah prayed and said, "My heart rejoices in the Lord. In the Lord is my horn. He is lifted high. My mouth boasts over my enemies, for I delight in your deliverance. There was no one holy like the Lord. There was no one besides you. There is no rock like the Lord. Do not keep talking so proudly, or let your mouth speak such arrogance. For the Lord is a God who knows, and by him deeds are weighed." You wonder if she's got Peninnah in her mind as she's saying this, because Peninnah has been irritating her for years because she was barren. And you just wonder if that was kind of a dig thrown in there. I don't know that, but it makes you wonder. The bows of the warriors are broken, but those who stumble are armed with strength. Those who were full now hire themselves for food. Or those who were full now hire themselves for food. But those who are hungry no more. She who was barren has borne 7 children, but she who has many sons pine away. The Lord brings death and he makes alive. He brings down to the grave and he raises up. The Lord sends poverty and wealth. He humbles and he exalts. He raises the poor from the dust, and he lifts the needy from the ash heap. He seats them with the princes, and he has them inherit a throne of honor. For the foundations of the earth are the Lord's. On them he has set the world. He will guard the feet of his faithful servants, but the wicked will be silenced in the place of darkness. It is not by strength that one prevails. Those who oppose the Lord will be broken. The Most High will thunder from heaven, and the Lord will judge the ends of the earth. There is, among the historians, they believe that this is actually a prophetical reading or poem. They say that she basically prophesied that she would have more children than she did have. She had the number that was stated. She was talking about the bows would be broken. They were continually under the oppression of the Philistines and the surrounding nations, and she said that God would deliver them. And then they go into other areas of prophecy that they say that this fulfills. Again, that is speculation. I don't know. But that is what some of the commentaries were stating. I believe this is a good place to stop, so I will not see you all for another 2 or 3 weeks, and then we will continue at this point. Wade should be back, and he will continue what he's teaching. Thank you very much.